Nowadays, evolutions are everywhere. In the games, in the sky, on the ground, heck, even on my delicious cup of Yorkshire tea. There's enough Eevee content to keep you entertained until Dad comes home with the milk. And Eevees are great and all, but I want to make a little change. From this, into this. Flareon, use Bubble Beam! Greetings! Welcome to another episode of Porygondolier. In today's installment, I'll be playing Pokemon Red with a very indecisive Eevee. I'll name myself Mikey. Do drop me a comment if you got the reference. This guy, as always, is John. Oak tells me that if I'm going to run away from home, I simply must bring along a pet. And for this run only, John gets a Pikachu. And at this point, I can hear you saying, "But Mr. Poryman, why ever did you not do this run in Pokemon Yellow? Wouldn't that be more appropriate?" Well, I knew you'd ask that, so I spent a long time thinking it through and came up with a detailed written statement. Nope. Eevee only has 2 moves, and we're sort of stuck with these until level 27. The reason being is that what you're supposed to do is steal your Eevee from a table at level 25. If you train it up, it can be a great ally in the fight against Team Rocket, the scoundrels that famously go around stealing Pokemon. After defeating Pikachu, Eevee evolves right away. You may notice it didn't even level up, and that's how this run is going to work. Every time Jolteon gets experience, it evolves. Originally, this was going to be every level up, but that made it too easy to plan out battles. But Mr. Poryman, I hear you saying, Pokemon only evolve at the end of battles anyway, so does it really make much difference? And to that, I say, Before we fight optional John, we're gonna need to put some levels on Jolteon. So me and Leafeon do some battles here before taking a trip to the Viridian Forest. And when Jolteon overcomes this Bugcatcher's Weedle, it just can't wait for the end of the battle. Yes, thanks to a collaborative effort with the marvelously talented Rainbow Metal Pigeon, this playthrough features mid-battle evolution. Right, I think that's enough exposition, let's go fight optional John. Flareon takes on Pidgey and gets hit with 2 sand attacks before devolving into an Eevee. And oh, John, what is that? Is there something wrong with your starter too? I wonder if this will be a running gag throughout the video. As you might expect, this doesn't end well for Eevee, but not to worry, let's try that again. And this time we get Beta Leafeon, the best Leafeon, but with sand in the eyes of both Pokemon, this battle takes forever. Here's 10 straight turns of nothing happening in a row. But in the end, Leafeon scoops up the win with one final tackle. Having arrived at Pewter City, I find myself reluctant to visit Brock's gym. With only tackle and sand attack, this is not going to be a fun fight. And actually, I once ran a poll to ask my wonderful viewers, that's you, how you'd feel about me using the Brock Skip glitch. Now, while the majority said it was okay, I do feel a bit uncomfortable about it, but today's run is all about fun. A fun run, if you please. So let's skip Brock. Oops, let's try that again. It's been a while. And with that, I can walk straight on past and go to Mount Moon. But for some odd reason, using a glitch on this channel just doesn't seem right. I fight with this uneasy feeling for a while, and then I remembered something. This channel is all about exploring the possibilities of ROM hacking. Blah blah blah. How would you like to skip Brock? I should like that very much. Be gone with you. I do hope he still gets paid. I assume it's a part-time job. We can now proceed through the trainers on Route 3 to arrive at Mount Moon, and I only need to take a few steps inside to get the TM for Water Gun. With Water Gun, Brock will be a cinch, but there's a little hurdle to overcome before my Something Eon can learn it. Although my creature has access to a huge range of moves and TMs, you can't just go around teaching Fire Blast to a Glaceon. That would be weird. No, only one evolution gets to learn Water Gun, so I defeat wild Jigglypuffs and whatnot until it turns into Vaporeon. This takes a total of 18 battles, so as you can imagine, we aren't breaking any speed records today. I can now return to Brock's gym and essentially turn on the sprinklers to defeat Diglett, Sandshrew, Geodude, and Onix, with 1 attack each. Wonderful. Back in Mount Moon, I get an escape rope and pick up somebody's candy. Floor candy. I fight this guy for experience before taking down the Rocket and the Nerd. Now, with this moveset, there's no way I'm challenging Misty, so next on the menu is John II, and leading with Eevee was probably not the way to go, as both Tackle and Water Gun do very little damage, and Pidgeotto comes equipped with the ever-despisable Sand Attack, a move that I'm definitely not planning to make heavy use of against Misty in a few short minutes. What's that? Double standards? Nah, it's okay when Mikey does it. He's the protagonist. Sylveon does a fine job against Rattata, with its 130 in special making Water Gun more like Super Soaker. It turns into Umbreon and John, your Pikachu got a hobby. That's nice. In an attempt to somehow not lose, Umbreon kicks the beach at surfing Pika, but unfazed and born to surf, Pikachu presses on and washes Umbreon away. So what have we learned? Well, in short, Eevee sucks. So what we can do is defeat basically anything to transform it into any other evolution before the fight. It could still go Eevee mid-battle, but at least if we can clear out Pidgeotto faster, we should have a better chance. And Sylveon is a great choice. Not that I chose it, but despite that, it's 3 shots to KO, and we take 1 Sand Attack in the process. Nevertheless, this is clearly much better than last time, and after taking care of Abra and Rattata, Pikachu surfs again. Puka? Is that you? Now we have 2 non-water type Pokemon doing their best to pretend to be water types, but I think Glaceon is doing a better job. At least until that Sand Attack comes back to bite us, and when Puka crits, it's all over once more. I fight both of the gym trainers for some EXP, and Sylveon emerges again. I can only conclude that we must be bestest best buddies now. This time, Pidgeotto goes down without landing a single Sand Attack, and now we just need a suitable candidate for tanking Surfs. No, not this guy. Oh dear. Critical Tackle, nice. After clearing Nugget Bridge, my partner is of the Jolteon persuasion, which is just perfect, as right over here we can get the TM for Thunderwave. I make my way across Route 25, skipping the TM for Seismic Toss since Espeon and Co can't learn it. I'm not very confident about fighting Misty, but Leafeon is a great start, so let's give it a try anyway. I choose to minimize my damage via Thunderwave and Sand Attack, but seeing what Staryu does with Tackle, this was probably unnecessary. Okay, something good please. Let's try that again. That's more like it. The only trouble is, Umbreon isn't much of a physical attacker, and Starmie's water moves hit surprisingly hard. The only way we're going to win this is by abusing Sand Attack to the limit, and that is precisely what we do. And with Starmie unable to see with its eyes, Umbreon chips away at it with tackle after tackle. In hindsight, I probably should have used Bide. And I want to learn Bubble Beam as soon as possible, but once again, I need my genetically unstable friend to assume the form of Vaporeon. And it does, straight away against the innocent bystander, but being as this is the middle of a battle, that's not much use. Against this junior trainer, there's Vaporeon again. Never mind. And against junior trainer's BF, yeah, you get the picture. So I arrive at the SSN without learning Bubble Beam, but at least we can swap out Tackle for Eevee Slam. I fight this gentleman to get some more floor candy, and I'm now convinced the game has gone sentient and is playing tricks on me. I can't wait to see what John has in store for me this time. Pidgeotto opts to spam Quick Attack, which is great because it isn't Sand Attack, and now I need to decide how to send Raticate to Pokemon Tower. Water Gun is so-so, but how about Body Slam? Ooh, Body Slam good. And of course, Body Slam is always good against Kadabra. Oh, John, that's... ugh. Let's see what Dexter has to say.
It is not yet skilled at storing electricity. It may send out a jolt if amused or startled.
Okay, so we're not expecting any strong electric attacks this time. Certainly not Thunderclap, the signature move of Raging Bolt. But anyway, Leafeon, stop playing with your food. Ah, finally! Time to learn Bubble Beam before I forget. Vaporeon for Surge might seem like a bad choice, but his first Pokemon Voltorb doesn't even learn any electric type moves, and we get Stab on Bubble Beam, which is very nice indeed. Vaporeon regresses into the baby fox, but a single Body Slam is more than enough for Sergeant Pikachu. Against Raichu, we have Glaceon. Surge throws out an X speed, and Glacie brings the bubbles. Here comes Thunderbolt, and it does sting a bit, but it's nothing that can't be soothed with more bubbles. Now we've reached level 27, we can start to get some level up moves. This is not terribly exciting yet, since all evolutions just get Quick Attack, and in fact, this becomes an inconvenience, as every time it evolves, it tries to learn it again. One attack that will come in handy is Thunderbolt, but again, we're going to have to hang on for a little while. In fact, Eevee will evolve 40 more times before that moment comes, but that would be skipping too far ahead. Time for a refreshing beverage, and one more for the Ice Beam TM, but this is purely out of habit. As for this run, I've made the executive decision to not use any Ice type moves. Sorry Glaceon, as much as I love freezing dragons, I want to try something different today. But now I'm really getting ahead of myself. Since I have Bubble Beam and nothing good for grass types, my plan was to visit Giovanni next, and then, ooh, Ember. So in the interest of not forgetting forgettable Erika, I think it's time to toast some Bellsprout. But actually, I need to take a moment to think here, because my ever-changing companion can actually learn 9 different moves at this level, and one of them looks quite tempting. So I fly home and head north for Route 1. Here, I can beat up rats and birds to my heart's content with little fear of leveling up. After a while, Sylveon learns Fairy Wind. I'm not planning to keep this one, but I added it to the game, so it's pretty much mandatory to use it at least once. Yeah, it's basically Fairy Gust. One rat later, I get what I came for, as Espeon learns Confusion. I then fly back to Celadon and realise I've been a fool. Confusion is nice, but free Psychic TM? Back to the gym, and the carnivorous plant creature is target practice for Jolteon's new move. It might be that Ember is surplus to requirements. Tangler is up next, and when Psychic falls short, I decide to at least get some mileage out of Ember, but Sylveon finds itself in a bind. Quite literally. And this continues for an uncomfortable amount of time. Hey Tangler, would it be okay if I attack too? We're supposed to take turns, you know. Whenever you feel ready. Right, that's the rudest Pokemon in the game taken care of. Hello! Greetings! What a pleasant Pokemon. Goodbye! In a declaration of victory, Umbreon becomes Leafeon, the plantiest plant in this gym, which means we could go ahead and teach Mega Drain right away. But to be quite honest, I'm still mega drained from the last run. Just before fighting Giovanni, I teach Jolteon Thunderbolt, which will be very handy soon, but in this fight, all I need is Bubble Beam and Psychic. There isn't much else to say here, so let's go and see what Spooky John brings to the table. As promised, Thunderbolt is immediately useful for zapping his Pigeon. Growlithe is an easy one-shot for Bubble Beam, and for this guy, I choose Psychic over Body Slam, as Glaceon didn't want to get eggs stuck in its fur. Eevee launches itself at Kadabra, and for his final Pokemon, we're going with Sylveon. John sends out Alolan Raichu, and we have a psychic showdown to see who can bend the most spoons in 40 seconds. Sylveon loses its patience and slams it to the ground. I'd advocate that Raichu has no business flying around on its tail anyway. Just kidding, Raichu. You're pretty cool. After getting the Pokeflute and defeating Snorlax, Leafeon reaches level 37, which is the worst level. Why? Because 8 out of 9 VeeVees learn Tail Whip, which means Vaporeon is trying to learn Tail Whip, Sylveon is trying to learn Tail Whip, oh, and Eevee is trying to learn Bite, so I'll take this chance to shut up about Tail Whip and grab the HM for Surf. At this point, I decide to deposit some items, and something very strange is going on with the PC. Perhaps it's because I tried to deposit the Helix fossil, and that is obviously not acceptable, but it says I deposited the SS ticket. The correct item is deposited, but it would seem I have a bug to squish. Let's worry about that later. Now, there's a certain move I can get at level 42 that I'd like to use on the trainers in Koga's gym, so I'm heading to the Silph Co first, and let's see how much stronger John got in the last 53 seconds. I'm a little anxious about this one, so let's save the game first. Apparently, his newly evolved Pidgeot is now strong enough to survive 100,000 volts. Kudos on the tanky bird. I continue to have similar problems with the rest of his team, and by the time I reach Alakazam, Glaceon is both burnt and seeded. Even Alakazam takes 2 shots. Next up is a perfectly ordinary Pikachu, with a habit of floating away. This should not be difficult, and yet, as it practices flying up and down, Sylveon begins to succumb to its status ailments. What looked like a surefire victory just a few moments ago ultimately results in a loss to a flying Pikachu. On my second attempt, the Sylveon inside is furious and determined to erase this embarrassment with its own paws. But Pikachu is obsessed with flying, so it's a case of pouncing at just the right moment after it lands. And since Leech Seed is in play once again, Pikachu is able to recover HP while floating. Nevertheless, Sylveon has had enough of this game, and destroys Pikachu with a final blow. Here's a fun little fact. When Pokemon evolve, any HP damage is maintained. In other words, if a Pokemon has 30 HP of damage, it will still have 30 HP of damage after evolving. When Pokemon Mega Evolve, their stats get reconfigured, but the HP stat always stays the same. I believe this was done because if a Pokemon lost too much HP before de-Mega-Evolving at the end of a battle, it might end up fainting. Likewise, in normal evolution, apart from one very strange exception that isn't even really evolution, the base HP stat never goes down when evolving. But with my Eevee, its HP stat is going up and down all the time, and in developing this ROM, I found that its HP will quite happily drop below 0, and in true Gen 1 style, it jumps up to somewhere in the region of 65,000. To prevent this, I put in a fallback to stop the HP dropping below 1 during evolution. Why am I explaining all this? Well, I thought that was what had just happened to Eevee, but actually its max HP went down by 43, so its remaining HP also went down by 43. 44 minus 43, that makes 1, I think. But the point is, that could have happened, and this phenomenon will probably come up again later. Potions, Pokemon Centers, the Silph Co Nurse. There are so many great options for repairing your Pokemon, but I chose to fight a Cubone. I have no excuse for this blunder, but remarkably, Eevee annihilates its opponent with Bubble Beam. But sadly, this is not the end, and when Body Slam falls short, it's all over for Espeon. I didn't save after John, so I asked Glaceon to slam flying Pikachu extra hard this time, and next up is the boss. As with the previous Giovanni battle, there's not much to talk about here, other than that after Umbreon hits level 40, we do get access to a few new moves, but none of these take my fancy. As mentioned before, I was hoping to learn a certain move at level 42 before doing Koga's gym, but I'm just gonna go anyway and deal with the Psychic types using Body Slam. Thanks to Psychic, Koga himself is a pushover, and it's here that Leafeon finally reaches level 42. The battle concludes with minimal drama, and now it's time to go back to Route 1, where, after a short while, Umbreon learns Feint Attack, a 60 base power Dark type move that always hits. I didn't get to use it on the Fuchsia City Jugglers, but at least it'll come in handy for Sabrina. While here, I deliberately get lost and then deliberately walk in front of this channeler. This is a fun test for Feint Attack, that as well as being super effective against Kadabras, is also super effective against ghosts. When I stop pretending to be lost and do battle with Sabrina, I do so without thinking about what might happen to my little Eevee. Kadabra outspeeds me with a Psybeam, and Feint Attack is surprisingly lacking. Psychic is devastating and results in a special drop. Kadabra cleverly disables Feint Attack, leaving Eevee about as helpless as a baby fox in Tyrantrum territory. One more Psychic, and Eevee is down. Clearly, I'd forgotten about Eevee's shortcomings, but not to worry, I need only to attack this Mystery Grass to convert to the dark side and enact some revenge. With Feint Attack powered up by a decent special stat, and of course, Stab, it's much better, but still not a one-hit KO. I did expect this to be my ace in the hole, but I suppose the base power of 60 isn't much to brag about at this point in the game. Coming up against Venomoth is Eevee, which I'm actually quite happy about, as it means there is no possibility of Eevee versus Alakazam. Thunderbolt was definitely the wrong choice there. Psychic is much better, but that poison powder is quite unwelcome. Now for a Psychic versus Psychic finale, and while I spam Feint Attack, Alakazam fixates on Recover. Due to the AI and Alakazam's moveset, she is unable to use any other moves against Psychic-type Pokemon, and with my HP slowly dropping due to poison, I conclude that there is no way to win and reset the game. I don't need to do any special training or anything, I just need my Pokemon to not be Espeon. This time Jolteon steps up to fight Venomoth and somehow ends up poisoned again. And for Alakazam, thankfully it's Vaporeon. This means no more recovery loop and we can make some progress using Feint Attack. Alakazam puts everything into a Psybeam and Vaporeon's base 130 in HP comes to the rescue. And speaking of HP, devolving into Eevee triggers the HP underflow prevention, leaving it with a single hit point. Also, guess who's poisoned? So technically I just blacked out, but it was after the battle, so it's safe. With the Marsh Badge obtained, there's only 2 left, but before I head down to Cinnabar, I nip back to Fuchsia to give the Warden his teeth. I then go to teach Lapras Surf, but accidentally choose Psywave instead. And when I hit B to go back, it crashes the game. I take to the internet and search for Psywave TM glitch, but of course, there is nothing. As with the weirdness in the PC, this one is on me. I now have to battle Sabrina again, and it turns out that Sylveon isn't the only one with a vengeance in its heart. But really, Espeon? You'd have to get 2 crits in a row. It's just not going to happen. What a beast. Okay, time to save and do some experimenting. And it definitely seems like something is very wrong with the Psywave TM. The Ice Beam TM seems to be completely fine. I checked Toxic too, and even tried rearranging my TMs, but it definitely seems like it's specific to Psywave. So I come up with a cunning plan to resolve this glitch. Sorted. I make my way to Cinnabar, and then remember that I still need to return the Warden's teeth. This time, I successfully teach my Lapras Strength and push the... What? I can't move. Reload? Oh dear. Maybe if I push the boulder the other way? Oh dear. Unlike my item-related glitches, this one is game-breaking. If I can't push boulders, I can never reach the Elite Four, and me and Eevee will never get into the Hall of Fame. Was this ROM just too ambitious? Did messing with the Pewter City youngster partway through break the game? Could this really be it? It's been 2 days, and I have a confession to make. Recently, I've been doing quite a lot of stuff with this guy, and when I look back, it's been a good 3 months since I last pushed a boulder. And don't even get me started on leg day. So perhaps it's no surprise that I no longer have the strength to move a giant rock. What's that? Lapras is the one doing the pushing, not me? Is that what it looks like to you? Right, let's get on with it. Blaine! Bubble Beam, Bubble Beam, Bubble Beam, Bubble Beam. Giovanni, let's go! Bubble Beam again. And next up is... Doug Trio, my old nemesis. We meet again. Flareon, use Bubble Beam! Oh. Okay, we'll get him when he comes up. Guard Spec? Mr. Rocket Bossman, it's not polite to use items in the middle of dig. That's one more for the Doug Trio hit list. Sylveon, sort him out. For Nidoqueen, it's Jolteon with Psychic, and on reaching level 48, we get access to even more moves. Pin Missile would have been very tempting earlier in the run, but at this point, it's going to have to be a no. Just kidding, I can't resist. Let's check it out on Nidoking. Pin Missile. I love Pin Missile. Finish it off with Psychic, easy peasy. Now for a move I do plan on keeping, and this one is going to come in very handy, so sadly, it's already time to say goodbye to Pin Missile. Against Rhydon, I find myself missing my bubbles, but if the best it can do is Tail Whip, I think we're gonna be alright. And just like that, I have 8 shiny gym badges, and it's time to activate the serious music. There are only 2 John battles left, so it can be fairly sure he's going to bring the big guns. I start off with a Thunderbolt, and just like last time, his surprisingly tanky bird is surprisingly tanky. That, or my Flareon is inept at making electricity. And if we were underpowered before, we definitely are now. And with no super effective attacks, it's time to start using Growth. In case you were wondering, Eevee's powered up special stat will be maintained when it evolves, but any boosts from the infamous badge boost glitch are sadly lost. Nevertheless, the special stat is the only one that counts for all of Umbreon's moves, and that was a critical hit anyway. Execute is an easy one-shot with Feint Attack, and Umbreon comes out with perfect timing to face Alakazam. Immunity to Psybeam is very nice to see here in Gen 1, but even with boosted special, Mr. Spoons takes 2 hits from our rather underwhelming Dark-type attack. Right, here comes the big gun. John sent out... Pika-Blue? John, I think your starter might be even more messed up than mine, but this is no time to be reminiscing about schoolyard rumours in the 90s. Doesn't this scene look kind of familiar? Flareon! Don't look directly into its eyes! Here comes Bubble Beam. It's super effective. What a terrifying creature. I make my way to Victory Road, and now I just need to dig deep and find the strength to push the boulders. Yes! Now that my strength has returned, Victory Road is a walk in the cave. But can the same be said for the Elite Four? We'll find out right after this message from today's sponsor. Have you ever felt like your favorite candy doesn't have enough Vileplume in it? Well, introducing Vileplume Candy, the #1 top-selling confectionery, not coming soon to stores not near you. We begin the league with Vaporeon at level 49, and my items still full of rare candies. With Thunderbolt in my move list, this should be pretty straightforward, and as expected, Dewgong goes down easily. Leafeon is a great choice for resisting her water-type attacks, so I'll take this chance to use Growth. Oh yeah, she's an Ice-type user. Returning to the start of this fight, on this attempt, Dewgong uses Rest, giving me the perfect opportunity to use Growth, which I squander by persistently spamming Thunderbolt. Like last time, I choose to use Cloyster for setup, the difference this time being that Aurora Beam won't take me out in one shot. And speaking of one-shots, Cloyster, Slowbro, and Jinx. No? Really? I'm starting to wonder if Feint Attack is worth keeping. Then again, Lapras has the same special stat as Jinx, and even Thunderbolt is 2 shots, so it might just be the lack of stab. If anything, it highlights just how important Growth is now in these final battles. Well, I say these final battles, obviously that doesn't include Bruno. I do consider using Growth, but clearly there's no need at all. Now, I think it's well established at this point that starting difficult battles with Eevee is a bad idea. But I can't just go and crush a Pidgey here, and for whatever reason, it doesn't occur to me to use a rare candy and evolve via level up. But I have some good attacks for this fight, so maybe it's not the end of the world. As we can see, Psychic does something. Not a whole lot, but it's something. Feint Attack is definitely less good, although it does have more PP. And this looks to be going in my favour. If I can just beat Gengar, there's hope yet for the rest of the battle. That's just the kind of naive thinking that resulted in an Eevee vs Gengar battle in the first place. Let's take a moment to look at what the Pokemon League Challenge actually is here. My opponents are 26 Pokemon with a wide range of types and attacks. I can choose what I use to battle Dewgong with, but beyond that, my creature can Eeveefy at any moment. And even if it doesn't, there are plenty of other scenarios that I'd quite like to avoid as well. In between each fight, I can use rare candies to re-roll my starter, and since I picked up 10 candies from the floor, I can do this a total of 10 times. This is only useful for the first Pokemon in each battle, and what I use against the other 21 opponents is completely random. So to summarise, statistically speaking, I'm probably going to lose quite a lot. As it happens though, on this attempt I reach Agatha once again. Espeon is a much better candidate for battling Gengar, and we can see it's only a few levels away from being able to one-shot. Due to the peculiarities of my starter, the mechanic of Agatha switching out her Pokemon actually affects the matchups, but despite that, the battle proceeds more or less like any other Agatha encounter, with copious amounts of Confused Ray and even getting poisoned. Wonderful. It's upon beating the creepy old lady that Jolteon reaches the very important milestone of level 54, the last level at which the Evolution crew get some new moves, and these are the hard-hitting ones that can really make a difference. You may remember me mentioning that I won't be using any Ice-type moves today. The reason being is that Sylveon learns a very powerful Fairy-type move at level 54. The trouble is, as you can see, I haven't planned this out very well, so I'll be battling Lance very much without the move I've been looking forward to using on him since the start of the run. But at least I have a great move for Gyarados. Sylveon, please? No, of course not. After Thunderbolt misses, I'm suddenly very conscious of my ever-depleting PP, so I switch to Feint Attack and it gets the job done. But with only 57 HP left, no way! Oh, this is brilliant. So, I still need Feint Attack for John's Alakazam, and this seems really, really wrong, but I think I'm gonna have to drop Psychic. And it's Moonblast time! Nice! This should be easy now. Thunderbolt. Okay, just a little bit more. No! This signals the start of a chain of defeats that forces me to rethink my strategy. And I want to stress that I'm using the word strategy here very loosely. What I'd been hoping to do was to use these 4 moves for the first part of the league, and then shortly before battling Lance, somehow happen upon Moonblast, and yeah, it's not much of a strategy, so let's use 4 Rare Candies and Hakuna Ratata to get Sylveon. Since I'll be starting the league with Moonblast, I have to lose 1 move, but Psychic is my entire solution to Bruno, so this time I'm going to drop Feint Attack instead. These extra levels do not equate to automatic wins, but in my very next attempt, things start to look promising. It's always fun to poke fun at Bruno, but in just the right circumstances, his Machamp can be a little bit of a problem once in a while. And this certainly seems like a bad match for me, but go Eevee. I have a very pleasant fight with Agatha, which means I get to have another go at Moonblasting Lance. Lance claims that dragons are virtually indestructible. Well, we'll see about that. I stop here to grow Jolteon 2 sizes. This is not for Dragonair's benefit, but actually in preparation for Aerodactyl. I can't do much about Aerodactyl's speed, but I can at least try to guarantee a one-hit KO. Thunderbolt ends up being a crit anyway, but that's the biggest danger out of the way. And virtually indestructible Dragonite is blasted away by Fairy Power. Now all that stands between me and the title of champion is a guy by the name of John. If you think you know what his starter will be this time around, pause the video and drop a comment down below. Without Feint Attack, John's Alakazam becomes a problem. My solution was to bring along the TM for Double Edge, and since I currently have Flareon, I feel like Fire Blast would have been a great counter for Exeggutor, but it appears I left that one in the PC. First up is the mighty tanky Pigeon. I don't mind taking a bit of damage here, so I'm going straight for growth. Meanwhile, it charges up a Sky Attack, so I get my special boost for free. Even without Feint Attack, Umbreon is the perfect counter to Alakazam. Why? Because it's immune to all of Alakazam's attacks. Have I realized this? No. Double Edge is probably the worst move I could use here. I'm taking recoil damage for absolutely no reason. It's not the end of the world, but I could have used Growth so many times. I used my last Psychic up on Arcanine, he uses full restore, but we did get the special drop, so it's a simple task for Thunderbolt. For Exeggutor, I really wish I'd come equipped with Fire Blast. I end up frantically using Growth and Thunderbolt, and by the time I'm done, Jolteon is on 2 HP. John sent out Pikachu! Just a plain old Pikachu.
Come back, Pikachu! Let's break the ceiling!
Gigantamax Pikachu, or Pikamax as I like to call it, comes with 999 HP in Gen 1. Glaceon has 2. I can't use Double Edge because of the recoil. My only choice is Thunderbolt. Pikamax used G-Max Volt Crash. Right, let's plan this out a little bit better. We'll take the Fire Blast TM, I'm putting it in my items, I definitely have it with me this time. Jumping ahead to just after Lance, I'm going to use all of my rare candies this time. I'll then forget to teach Fire Blast to Flareon and end up with Eevee. I actually beat Pidgeot with Eevee, but I haven't taken any measures against Alakazam. This is quickly turning into my sloppiest playthrough ever. Eevee then loses to Haunter before completely redeeming itself. I now have 6 chances to evolve it into Flareon and learn Fire Blast. Last chance. Yes! No! Where's my TM? I didn't save after withdrawing it? I do have the double-edged TM, but with no Fire Blast, I really can't see this going well. Let's do it anyway. Pidgeot, Growth, Thunderbolt, down in 1. Umbreon versus Alakazam. The game is being so kind. And finally it clicks. Immunity, it can't hurt me. After growing so much that my Umbreon might be mistaken for a Dynamaxed one, a single bolt of thunder is all it takes. Double Edge? Who needs it? Exeggutor is still pretty scary, but that's mostly just its faces, and my enormous Sylveon is easily able to bring it down in 2. Right, here we go again. This time I have Psychic, and just look at how slow its HP is coming down. Yep, that's right, it's still faster than Gen 4. G-Max Volt Crash, will it be okay? I did get paralysed, actually it's a 100% chance, but this is great. A couple more Psychics, and victory is mine. And the Pokemon going into the Hall of Fame is... Eevee! Ha! That's so perfect. I think that's the first time I've actually been happy it evolved into Eevee. The genetically unstable Eevee completes the game at level 65, in 8 hours and 18 minutes.
Wait! It is I, the editor. I've been editing this video for a good 6 weeks now, and it's just occurred to me that fishing exists. I did a little bit of testing, and this works in the water of Ice Lady's room and here in Lance's statues. You can't do it in Bruno's room or Agatha's room.
But this means I did have a way to deliberately learn Moonblast just before challenging Lance. Yeah, I edit my own videos. I just get really deep when I'm editing, you know? My regular viewers will likely know that Eevee still has one more gargantuan challenge to overcome. But this video is long enough already, so we'll save that one for another day. For those of you still watching at this point in the video, thanks! If you enjoyed it and would like to see more stuff like this, there's probably a big red subscribe button somewhere on your screen. I believe you're supposed to moonblast it. I'd also like to say an extra special thank you to my Patreon supporters, who get absolutely nothing out of it, but choose to support me anyway. You guys are the best. And as always, I'd like to wish you a wonderful day, and I look forward to welcoming you back to another video soon. For now, bye!